Right here in the SEAM studio, ladies and gentlemen, it's time again for some flight safety. And this can fall under the category of crew resource management as well, because there's a certain area that has now come to our attention. And I think it's important that every person out there, whether you're flying the specific types that I'm going to talk about or not, just to take and just to understand the problems that we've got with flight safety in the country. Now, I'm starting off here with a definition of your so-called ZU aircraft. All aircraft that is manufactured important does not qualify for the issue of the Certificate of Airworthiness. Part 121 has, just Part 21 has become a big part of the aviation. It's very important to growth of the future of the industry. And these aircraft are called non-type certified aircraft. All right, and that has got amateur built, production built, veteran aircraft, ex-military aircraft, exhibition-like aircraft used for sole purpose of aerobatics and display. So what you can see is that when it comes to the ZU category or then the NTCA, there's a variety. Right, but what they have got in common is that they are not type specified. So some of them are built in a factory, granted, that has got a license from the original, let's call it designer and manufacturers, and many of them are actually just built in a garage or in a backyard somewhere. All right, I couldn't in this specific time couldn't go into which were actually, let's call it backyard build, and which were factory built. But nonetheless, I don't think that the amount of accidents will point directly to the backyard. But let's get on with this. There's a couple of questions. Are we focusing on the real issues or just an easy admin issues? Now, I'm just asking these questions right in the bundle. So you can now apply these questions to yourself, to your company, to the CAA, to whoever. There's one thing to follow the book, and there's another thing to actually make the reality follow the book, if you follow what I say. All right. So how do we get to know the real issues at hand? That is obviously through horrible statistics and a few other ways. Is safety only a function of the CAA or a core training issue? That, I think, is a pretty straightforward question to say to everybody out there. Guys and girls, at this stage of the game, I think the CAA personnel are not the ones that's being hurt. I think I've said enough. Why is that training is such a short shelf life? Now, you've heard me many times say this. Short shelf life is not something that I thought up the saying. It actually comes out of one of the ICAO publications, where they recognize that training is like, you know, some people just sit there and they do the training because they have to. Unfortunately, in our game, if there's things that you don't really understand and things that you really actually can't do, and your ego outweighs your capabilities, especially if the aircraft is very light and the wind can play tricks with it, and you cannot fly in the tricky environment. All right, and so we go on. Okay, in our bid to stay legal, how are we focusing on the real world issues? I'm not for a second trying to say take your eyes off the legal point. I am categorically stating that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm saying is that we are so only focused on that we don't get to the issues of actually being able to fly these machines and to service them correctly. All right. Why is it that our training yields little accidents? Now look at this. Everybody says training is the biggest accident. That's the biggest bunch of nonsense out. Training isn't the biggest killer in the accident environment. It really is not. It's a well-oversighted, well-protected, well-directed environment. So come on, get out of these old cliches. Yeah, just, training is so bad in South Africa and, well, basically then all over the world. I cannot speak for other places, but I don't think that the propagators of this poor training, that is, I will say, maybe if you say to me there's a lack of training, I can see that will have a problem when we get into the operational area. Okay, but as we develop, we'll get to that. What does the accident statistics indicate? All right, so there is a picture that you see quite a bit. Now, I don't know whose aircraft this is, and I don't know what the circumstances were. But let's say statistically, this is just the inability to recover from a bad landing. In other words, the aircraft started porpoising, bumping on, jumping in the air, being pushed forward, and flew with the nose into the ground, off breaks the nose wheel, and there we go. How much does it take to break the nose wheel? Oh, come on. The angle that you hit the ground is not so bad. After that, there will obviously be a whiplash, and the aircraft hops back into the air. But you need to understand that the protection of the nose wheel does not only indicate that we get a ground shimmy or stuff like that. Obviously, a shimmy is a bad thing. Shimmy can actually rip that whole piece apart there. So don't take that lightly either. All right, let's see. To determine the accident causation and what role training schools and testing officers can play to reduce avoidable accidents. I'm not just insinuating, Mike, a directly statement to say that these accidents are mostly avoidable accidents. And the question is, what can we do? Yeah, well, I fly Boeings. I don't have... Yes, I understand that's... I'm jealous. All right. But flying has got so many makes and types and colors and flavors. And the one thing that we've got common right through everything is, in fact, everywhere there's guidelines on how to fly the things and what we should do. There's a machine, because something takes us in the air, whether it's a hot air balloon or it doesn't matter. It's something that tethers us above the Mother Earth. Then there's the environment that we fly in. And wind is one of those environments. And you cannot wish the wind away. The wind is not going to disappear. The wind is not going to ask you when it should blow. The wind is not going to show you any acknowledgement, never mind respect. Okay, and then there's people. People are the manipulators of the machine in the environment according to the rules. Okay? But it sounds like I'm just talking about pilots here. Who's working on the aircraft so that it is airworthy? They also work according to rules, or should. They also work with machines and tools, and on your machine. And they're also working in an environment. If it's outside in the dust and openness and careless and all that kind of stuff, not so happy with that, eh? And then there are always people involved. People do make mistakes, but people also neglect to follow the rule. And there are various reasons. One of the reasons probably money. All right, let's get on with this one. Questions with no formulated answers. Define the primary cause or primary accident causation by indicator. Whoa, all right. Causation is a process. Causation is not just one thing. Causation is a string of things. I don't necessarily want to only let you think of it as a little chain, because these are very, very complicated chains. This link in the chain might have 4 or 5 links to it, and each link might have another 4 or 5 links to it. So it's a very, very complicated environment that gets together to the point where something happens. All right. Basic understanding of the argument and finding. Let's look at the findings. A couple of definitions. The airmanship. What does it mean? Because everybody says airmanship. It means a consistent use of good judgment and a well-developed knowledge, skills, and attitudes to accomplish the flight objectives. Says who? Says the CAA. That's a definition right out of the cars. What? Yes, part 1. Go look at the definitions. There it says. It says that you must have the knowledge. It says you must have the skills. Now, if there's a lack of knowledge or a lack of skills or a lack of attitude, any one of those 3, you're opening up your ribcage to, let's call it, being part of the accident causation sequence. Oversight, what does that mean? All right, I'm quite proud of myself here for thinking about this one. And the BDI is looking at you. Oversight, well, believe it or not, but there's no official definition in the cars. Oversight means a slip. It could be, but this is not what we mean here, okay? This is my understanding of meaning, the act of you assuring compliance and conformance. What do I do when I do oversight? I ensure that the rules and the regulation. Now, whoa, it's the application of that as well. In other words, it's not just a theoretical approach to this. Oversight is a theoretical, practical, hands-on, man, what the hell are you doing? Hey, but I see you cannot actually land this light aircraft in any wind conditions. Come, let's hop in and let's go and do a couple of circuits. Let me teach you a thing or two. How to recover from a bad landing. How to decide to go around. When to go around. What do we mean by hot and high? Okay, just a few of those things. All right, the capability baseline of man in the shell model. Now, remember that in the shell model, we've got the, shell stands for software, hardware, environment, and liveware. But that first L is actually the L inside here, because that is the person who's handling his hardware according to the software. Whoa, software? Software is the guidances. Now, whether that's the guidance from the CAA or the manufacturer or your pilot's operating handbook or local rules and regulations, those are the safe software. If you abide by the software, you will probably not get in line for pain or payment. Same thing. All right. And always then we work with other people. But just to say, what is the capability requirement for this to sit in the center and to have the ability and authority to work with the hardware in the environment? What gives him the authority? Well, he must be able to do those things, but we can only do it according to the software. The guidance, skills, motorized, cognitive skills. You must be able to make a decision. Hey, I can see the wind is coming from there, slightly right. This is what I'm going to do. Ooh, no, that's bad. Take power, go around, do something. That is on the ball cognitive thinking. It means the functioning of the brain is at a high enough speed to avoid bad results. Anybody can end up in a bad result. I've been set up for bad results so many times in my life, I wouldn't even dare to count it. it'll scare the living daylights out of me. But the point is that somehow I picked it up because I had the skills of thinking. And then I decided to go around, to do something else, not to do something. Good decision making depends, firstly, on the knowledge you had, but you must have the skills of making good deductions as well. And then the last one there I said is the attitude. And quite frankly, the attitude, that one, the want to do what is right. I know this is not a sermon. Okay, let's rephrase this. This is a sermon. All right. Thou shalt apply thy rules and skills so that I can live. That's a good attitude. Your attitude sucks when you are busy doing stuff which is not in alignment with the recognized and the required. Oh yeah, but I found this is much easier. I know that you found it's much easier. You've been taking the shortcuts. You're just so far very lucky. Yeah, you're stupid and lucky and all that kind of stuff. I said somebody's stupid. How can you say somebody is stupid? Well, you know, stupid's got nothing to do with IQ. You've got the knowledge. You've got the skill. And then to knowingly and willingly go and do and expose yourself, stupid. Okay, sorry. Okay, human design is the last one there. The human design, I say, is the makeup of man. Why did I sneak that last one in? Because that wasn't in the definition. Where does this human design come from? Well, I just wanted somewhere to say to you that the knowledge says that if you are too weak due to an accident or an incident or a sickness, that you shouldn't fly. You're human. Get over it. Some of you are big and strong. Some of us are tiny and small. I mean, look at me, for instance. I've flown with ladies where we have to put multiple kilograms right in the front of the helicopter or the aircraft just to get some weight and balance reality there. Okay? So size doesn't count when it comes to using your brains to know what you must do. All right? But some things aren't, they just aren't for us. We haven't really got that. We are not teachable to the level of the cognitive ability that we should have. I'm walking on thin ice. That is why some people take a little bit longer to train. But if your ego surpasses the level of your training, well, you're going to get your 15 seconds of fame, and that will probably be at the time when we come and view the casket. No, never mind. All right. Let's have a look here. The results. Research all ZU aircraft 2018, allocated per causation, main accident indicators, as I said there. Okay, whoa, here we come to some good statistic. The South African Investigation Department, they've gone and they've published 133 accidents that were for the 2018 period. That's 2018 period, accidents in South Africa, all of them. And 51 is in the non-type certified aircraft. Okay. Whoa. That is 34.8, nearly 40% of the total accidents come out of the NTCA. Wow. Yeah, but now you say, but, you know, NTCA makes up 40% of the total areas. Yes, you can say that. And you can say if we only flew NTCA aircraft, then 100% of the accidents would have come from NTCA. So there's many ways of looking at this. But the point I want to get out here is, let's get here. 24 of the 51. So now I've skipped, I'm just using that 51, and I say that 24 of those 51, listen to this. Wait, before we do that, let's clear up this mess, and then say, hey, that's 24 of the accidents happened in the circuit. 17 on landing, 17 on landing. That must be takeoff. Okay, so there's 7 on takeoff. Let me write there, takeoff, all right. And we've got 17 on landing. So 24 in the circuit. Wow. What does that mean? Well, I don't know, but we're going to look at the percentage just now. And look at the next one. The engine malfunctions are 18 out of 51. Hey, that's more than a third. It's engine malfunction. And so let's have a look at what that says. I wanted to concentrate here on the findings of takeoff and landings here, and that is represented by this picture, and then engine and fuel starvations, in other words forced landings due to engine or malfunction, is that one there. But the point that I want us to look at this very moment is that takeoff and landings are nearly half the problem. So I need not to go very much further to say, you know what? Why are there so many accidents on takeoff or landing? And you go and read. You're the wind, you're the wind, you're the wind, you're the wind. Light aircraft are super nippy. You need helicopter hands to fly it. Sorry, fixing sky, but that's true. It's such small movements. They are so delicate, they're so light. A whiff of wind will lift you and move you and do that. And have you got the ability to fly and decide when to go out? So there's a lot of training questions. There's a lot of application questions. There's a lot. But I can tell you that you're flying light aircraft. Get used to the fact that you're flying light aircraft. And that the interface with the environment is going to be a fair bit more, let's not call it necessarily severe, but in your face, well, on your roof. Then the engine and fuel. Now, there was only 4%. I just want to put it here. There was 4% on fuel. The rest is all engine. So we can say here that 31% is percent, a third of the accidents was directly. Wow. That's out the ballpark. I'm not saying the ballpark is good, but anything from 8 to 12% is sort of like the averages that we get. I'm not making a statement whether it's good or bad, but I'm saying if that is sort of what we get, between 8 and 12%, how do you get from there to 30+%? How come there is a fifth in the accident difference between the two? There is something not good. Well, we're going to have to see what is the reason for that. Now, I know that the CAA is working very hard on the fact that whoever is going to have the ability to work on these aircraft are now going to have to work on the license and they are clamping down on the backyard jobs. No, it's not a thing that anybody or everybody wants to hear. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Then the rest, there was, let me get the right pen there, there was 17%. And I'm not going to go into those because we've got enough that we have to look at. So let's look at just in the pie chart what it looks like. And there's two things standing opposite each other there, which is very attention. And the first one here is the takeoffs and landing, and the other one is pure technical. All right, So 64, and let's say some of the fuel issues was for some or other reason, the fuel pump or whatever. I haven't gone into that 4%. 2/3 of the accidents lies in those two areas. We're flying machines that are not properly maintained. We're flying machines in the environment we are not sufficiently schooled in. I know you don't like what I'm saying. But you see, if we cannot pinpoint these things, we cannot move to the next level. And this is what we have to do. We must move to the next level. Very unfortunate. What are the deductions? Handling of such light aircraft in windy conditions. All right, I've spoken about that, and I think that's one of the bigger things there. Knowledge. What are knowledge? I'm talking about stall and accelerated stalls. In other words, your G stalls. There's a knowledge gap. Yeah, I don't want to know these things. I just want to fly. I bought this thing, to come and relax. Okay. You've come to relax. It doesn't seem to me that you come to relax. It seems to me that you came to die. Rethink. Where in the world will you participate in the sport where there's 66% chance that you're not going to get on the ground in one piece? Okay, that's a little bit playing with the statistics, I imagine. Skill shortage, recovery from bad landing, porpoise recoveries, stuff like that. Decision making is inadequate. The situational awareness is just not there. What do we mean by situational awareness? Man, if we understand the surrounding areas and we know where and what and how and who's, and we can see all the threats coming our way. So remember, we've got threats coming our way, and then we've got errors that's going from our way. What errors? Skill errors. Poor judgment errors. What threats? The wind. Poor servicing on aircraft. Wow. That is a threat to a pilot. It might be the error of the person that worked on it, and maybe it's the same person. So you've been scratching on your engine in the backyard and you flew it. Sure. Okay. All right. Technical care, too many engine cuts. There's just too many engine cuts. I've said it. Fuel. Quantity, fuel quantity, and fuel contamination. Well, if we just stand alone for a moment with the fuel contamination, I think there's a lot of fake or sensational news going around. In your light aircraft, if it's a low compression engine, you can fly it either with petrol or with F-gas. If it's a high compression engine, you cannot use normal petrol. You have to use F-gas because of the higher rating. Now, I'm not going into the reasons for that, but those are the two things. But the cleanliness of the fuel, and that the fuel is not contaminated by stuff such as water. Water's the easy one to fix up when it's contaminated. But when it comes to stuff like Jet A1, very, very difficult to pick it up. Okay, so fuel, the contaminant, and then I see what the stuff looked like. There's a rule. Every time before you go and fly, you sort of check, is that good or not that good? Every time before you go and fly. Not every time when you think you want to go and fly, or every time after you've flown. That's too late. Yeah, but my aircraft has been standing in the garage for, let's call it, it's sat in the garage there for, let's call it 6 months, and now I'm going to fly. All right. You don't check the fuel. Maybe the aircraft has stood in the road, it was washed a couple of times. Water will be inside the tank, okay? I can guarantee you that. You've got to remove that. There could be dust in. Somebody could have stolen that fuel out and replaced it with water. No, they're not going to replace it with other fuel. Come on. But maybe there is a Jet A1 tank close by and somehow got mixed. Very dangerous one. Once it's mixed, it's not as easy as water to separate. It's too close in its specific gravity. If you check your fuel before you refuel, before you fly, every time, there's going to be very little problem with this. If it's fuel starvation due to a blockage in the system, sorry, we're going to mention that, we're going to take that as, let's say, a technical issue. But if you run out of fuel, it's a head issue. All right. Soft CRM. Woohoo! Now we come to a place where it says, what is this soft CRM that you're talking about, and why do you mention soft CRM? Well, I'll tell you why I'm mentioning soft CRM. Soft CRM, as far as I'm concerned, and this is not a term I thought to play down the CRM, but the CRM that we can apply in the loft scenarios and in the beautiful advanced technologies and so on, that's great. Got no problem with that. That's well looked after. There's great oversight and stuff like that. When we get down to earth a little bit more, or closer to earth, let me put it that way, and we start flying like game capturing and crop spraying and low flying and all that kind of stuff, now soft CRM, the lovey-dovey nice things, we do this and well, there's no time for it. And that is where hard CRM means discipline. Soft CRM implies that and how we can work with each other. So before you can do soft CRM, you need to understand hard CRM. And that is my thing. We are too, oh yeah, it's nice, and we don't worry, and we don't want to upset these, and we want to upset those, and so and so and so. But we are happy to bury those. Not a problem. Oversight just simply does not exist in many cases. Man, I've got a license. Whoa, so I'm on the horizon. They've got my address, so I get visited all the time. And that's correct. But now many of the other guys, think of this. As an ATPL, I do a minimum of 1 flight test a year, and I get minimum of 1 oversight a year from the CAA, plus I get another oversight every 6 months internally. All right, so I'm being checked up. My bookwork is checked up. Everything is checked up. At my age, I've got to do medical every 6 months. Now, if you take all of that stuff, and now I go to somebody that's got a national transport pilot, a national pilot's license, or a PPL, then all of a sudden you find medical maybe over 2 years, only check ride every 2 years, and the law says, you know, if you haven't flown in the last 6 months, you just should have flown this amount of hours, and before you can do this, you should do that, and. Really? Now we want to argue with each other and say, here's a professional crowd that is being hammered all the time. Yeah, but I'm just doing it for fun. Yes, it's not fun for the accident investigators. It is not fun for those that stay behind. That's not fun. Unfortunately, this fun has got guidelines. So, one of my personal opinions, oversight is non-existent on a certain group, and that is why some of the accidents are there. Not all. Look, I'm not saying if we do that we're going to take the whole statistics and make it better. Forget the bigger statistics. I'm talking about you. All right. Is there a safety network? What do we mean by a safety network for starters? Well, let's see. The practical skills requirements and raw flying ability poses a bigger problem in private as well as helicopter charter environment than airline type operations. This is a high level deduction, okay? Flying ability poses a bigger problem in these areas. I'm not shooting down the airlines. The airlines are very, very well organized, and their structures are rigid, disciplined, oversighted, CRM, loft, all that kind of stuff. Testers, and they look at everybody. You can't move, man, and they know you. All right. But that's a different skill. And although those are superior skills, but they're so well looked after, there's less accidents. But when you go in amongst the trees, and you start flying in the three-dimensional world, helicopter loss of control is the #1 killer. Maybe next time I'll talk about that. Airline type flying is governed by stricter, more proper SOPs, as well as guided, protected, and. So it's good stuff, man. Most jet flying takes place outside the above oversight criteria. Training accidents in the seas were extremely low. Training is low. Why? Because it's, well, I'm making the argument here that the higher the oversight, the lower the accident rate. The lower the oversight, the higher the accident rate. Okay, that's the argument. Don't want to say take it or leave it. I think you should think about this one. CPL and PPL in lower oversight environments are also problematic. Ooh. Hey, so it's not just license. No, oversight is a people thing. Oversight is a human requirement because we simply haven't got the ability to oversee ourselves. Because we are prejudiced. We are prejudiced to things that suits us. Right? Come psychologists out there, come and talk to us about this kind of stuff. Not about left brain and right brain and really give me a break. We don't do brain analysis between the trees. We do decision making and sharp flying right at that moment in time. We don't have to be great to the buddy next to us. We've got to keep each other alive. The CRM environment now still stays hard. It is utmost discipline. It is utmost the capability and ability to fly. If you lack any of those two, you die. Nobody believes that, except those of us that keep the statistics. All right, poor training, embedded skills. Poor training seems to be a driver as restricted flight envelope and when under training goes and prepare a candidate to seamless transition to operation applications. Yes, unfortunately, we haven't got all the necessary simulators and stuff, and they didn't have the simulators in the Second World War, and they did some complicated hard flying, and flying is the thing. But training must go up. If training doesn't go up, if training is not specific to the requirement for the type that you're training for, what do you hide behind? Yeah, actually, you know, it is pressure. Let's just be honest with each other. I've got this businessman, he's only here and he's late and he can only do this and he wants to fly and, you know, he's going to go to somebody else. Well, I understand that we are desperate for work. I haven't got to stick with notches on how many people I trained insufficiently so that they have got the license to legally go and kill themselves. Am I a bit hard at this moment? Yeah, I think I am. Poor oversight on the NPL as direct effect on the safety footprint. Now I'm getting back to the non-type certified, and I'm actually now going down. No, look, a lot of non-type certified aircraft is flying, not just by MPL, it's by CPLs and PPLs and NELs. Yeah, ATPLs as well. All right, so everybody flies this. And I'm just trying to get to the people that only fly this. And then say, poor oversight in any environment to poor discipline leads to poor performance and poor results. Poor oversight, poor discipline, poor performance, poor results. And the trick is that once you let people just go ahead with what they feel they can get away with, they get used to that kind of freedom. And the moment you want to take that freedom away, then it is not cool. Aviation will stay a regulated environment. And that is not a prediction that anybody needs to, we don't have to debate it. Just look at the technical environment. Just look at the dynamics of the environment. And then we get on with it. Possible solutions that we can think of here. NTC training must be done in unfavored wind conditions. I had to put this one there first because, you know, we good weather pilots, and I see that all the time. No, the weather's too bad. No, the weather's too bad. The wind is a little bit cross and get in the air. If your instructor cannot fly that light aircraft in, let's call it reasonable wind conditions, I'm not talking about, you know, outside tolerances, of course not. A pilot that cannot do crosswind landings is looking for an accident place, or for a place for an accident to happen, to be involved with. A pilot that cannot do crosswind landings, a pilot that cannot do crosswind landings. You've got to train crosswind landings, especially with light aircraft in unfavorable conditions, even if it means just to teach how to avoid, how to go around. You've got to do a porpoise avoidance. We can't fly up and fly back into the ground. The nose wheel must break. Oh, I didn't know. Now you know. All right. NPL must test. Okay, here I become a little bit unpopular and I say that NPL and PPL must be tested annually. And there must be an increased oversight and we must check the fuels. And we say, no, man, we're just doing it for fun. This is a dangerous sport. And it's a dangerous area to have fun. So how is it possible that with flying so little oversight, so little of testing over so many days, you somehow think that is justified when in comparison with somebody whose day job it is? The person whose day job it is has got a far better chance of survival, especially if it is just takeoffs and landings that kill us. Hello? All right. NPL, PPL must have oversight boss. It's closer to the operating environment. Now, let's see. Everyone preferable to report to an appointed oversight delegate. Flying clubs must be... Oh, now I'm trying to draw flying clubs in here. And flying clubs out there, what are you doing? Oh, we're here to have fun, man. Yes. There used to be a time, I just want to remind all the club members and club bosses, club presidents. There was a time when the club was where we discussed flying and where we taught each other the tricks of the trade. Tricks on how to fly, not tricks on how to circumvent the rules and regulations. Tricks on how to get out of bad situations. Not on tricks on how not to be caught doing the wrong stuff. All right. Maybe not all clubs. Of course not. Of course there's clubs that's doing the right thing. I think everybody should do the right thing. Clubs to be encouraged to take responsibility for the monthly safety meeting with an accredited agenda. Oh my goodness. And then, if we carry on, clubs to encourage members to attend at least 4 safety meetings per annum. 4 safety meetings per annum. Hey, in the area where I am, there are club members. Out of the 70 club members, I see 3, maybe 4 at a safety evening. The rest do not attend anything. A, because they don't have to. B, think that it's rubbish. And C, they are not leaded. They're not led. Leaded. You can make words as you go. It's just not to say that it's correct. So, CAA is the top. Then you get a designated oversight guy there who looks after the club, who looks after your NPL, PPL, CPL, and all those kind of things. Conclusion? Before I open up the rest, let's just look at what I said here. Recognize great teachers, endure. Endure. A great teacher is not somebody that's going to lovey-dovey you all the time. A teacher is somebody that's got a small window of opportunity to change the way you do things or the way you think about things. And it cannot be in a negotiated, cool atmosphere. If I've got an hour, I've got 1 hour to change the rest of your life. If you are too scared, maybe you should be scared of flying as well. A teacher who does not teach you anything valuable. Yeah, but we don't have to scream and be like that. No, we don't have to. But a teacher who gives discipline a priority, which is at the root of the ability to fly safely through the software guiding your hardware, through the software guiding you and your hardware through the environment. All right. Okay. But at least become a great teacher. No, you still don't have to shout at everybody. I don't think so. But you can't take nonsense. You can't take second best. That businessman that walks in there with so much money, that's got no time and wants to fly for an ego trip, is the one who you're leading to his premature death. Sure, that's harsh. Unfortunately, if I'm true in 5% of the cases, it's still a comment to make, because every life we can save is better. Every engine. All right, so let's have a look at the conclusions further. Oversight to be made enforceable. Well, okay, long knob. Next one. Oversight to be delegated to ensure hands-on. Annual testing, we've done that. Training organizations ensure more practical application and than drilling holes in the sky. Ooh, I like that sentence. Which is drilling holes in the sky. Forget the drilling holes in the sky. You know, that's like a helicopter pilot coming to me and say, how many hours have you got? No, I've been chasing gooks, and I've flown 400 hours there. How many landings did you do in that 400 hours? Well, 400. Hello. The ability to fly is the flying part. The straight and level part's easy, okay? It's the takeoff and landing. The killing zone is the landing zone. You should spend 10 landings per hour. Okay, that's under training. But I've done 1 landing per hour. You sound like a fixed wing guy, my man. You sound like a charter pilot. Is that bad? Charter pilots goes to simulators. They've got so many. And, by the way, a lot of those charter pilots fly the light aircrafts as well, and they land them a lot of times more than you think that you should land. People with sense will always act sensibly. All right. Encourage the person into a specific accident-prone environment. And let's mobile the clubs and responsibility for that. But what responsibility do we want? Oh, wait, there I am. What is the responsibility do we want? Stamp out backyard mechanics. If you cannot afford to have a Porsche, you cannot have a Porsche. All right. You can obviously have what you like. But remember that the repercussions are there. And I'm appealing to your better senses during this. Well, not a pretty sight. Not a pretty sight of 66% of the accidents can directly related to mechanical failures and inability to land and take off, with mostly landing. That is not good. So what are we going to do about that? Well, let's just jump away from the we. I'm doing this. What are you doing? More pertinent to the question, what are you doing for yourself? Because you know these are the dangers. All right. Was it supposed to be a happy thing and inspiring us? Well, this is not a thing to say, the devil is going to get you. He doesn't have to get you. He doesn't have to get you at all. You're going to get yourself. So, how do you not get yourself? Train. Don't be so egotistic. Get training. Training and decision making. Check your attitude. Check your attitude. The attitude and skills capability must have a good balance. The higher the attitude, or at least uncool, the ego is then the skills, the more the accidents. And if it's too low, then we also get accidents. There must be a balance. We must have safe insurances that we're going to do that. There was some mosquito trying to get me. Anyway, see you in the next time.